Hello, my friends, and welcome to our latest episode of making a boring engine into a tuner dream engines. Yes, my friends, we are back with a new episode starring the amazing Chrysler 318 V8 engine from 1968. Yes, my friends, we are back with this awesome engine. Thanks, of course, to an awesome guy for suggesting and requesting a replica and a special build of this particular awesome engine, and I'm more than honored to make it, and of course in automation game. And now we are going to go over these amazing specs in automation game, and then of course we are going to turn it into a tuner dream engine. So let's enjoy it and let's start working on it. All right, gentlemen. So back in the 50s, Chrysler was actually making some decent engines. They called them the A series. They were absolutely awesome. They were like mainstream engines for everyone to use in their cars and their trucks and all of that. But these engines were actually a little more expensive to make, especially when they were using the Hemi combustion chambers. They call them the hemispherical combustion chambers, and these things are not that cheap to manufacture and machine. So Chrysler thought about, all right, let's make something for the mainstream cars, trucks, and people to use, a nice, smooth, reliable engine with nice amount of torque, nice amount of reliability for everyone to use. So they introduced the A family, the A series, and then they followed it with the LA engine series. And the L stands for light, because this LA family is like around 50 pounds lighter, which is a huge difference. I mean, 50 pounds, that is a lot of metal. And yes, it's lighter than the A family. So they used it from 1964, the LA family, up to 2003. Yes, that long. And through those years, it received some huge upgrades, like better cylinder heads, better camshaft, more reliability, more power, more torque, different fuel systems, twin two-barrel carbs, triple two-barrel carbs, which they call it the six-pack, and of course a single four-barrel carb. So, and of course then they introduced the fuel injection. So it was an amazing engine. It went through the pages of history. A lot of people used it. A lot of hot rodders love it because I mean, I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube, people talking about how good this engine is on the road. Even the stock configuration from the factory, it was good because the torque is so high and it's so low, so the power is just constant. I mean, of course, back then they were using like 3-speed automatic gearbox, so there wasn't that much shifting going on. But to compare to these days with 8-speed gearboxes, 9-speed, or even 10-speed automatic gearboxes, back then the car will just roll around with only 3 gears, high amount of torque, very, very low RPM, smooth ride, comfy, boaty suspension. They love that, and these things are actually cool. And as I mentioned, this engine was installed in pretty awesome cars, sedans, pickup, coupes, marine vehicles, and also some industrial applications, which is extremely awesome. So and I mentioned, as I'm more than honored to make this engine in automation game, and I tried my best to make it work because it's not easy to build in automation game. I mean, really, it's not easy to make because I went through like absolutely everything: quality, camshaft, sorry, as they call it, cam profile, ignition timing, exhaust size, fueling. I mean, I've played with the specs, and this is like the best and the closest that I could. Of course, and I went with 1967, which was the first gen of this beautiful 318 Chrysler engine. Now, of course, this beast of an engine, or this family, the LA family, didn't just produce V8s. Oh no, this family is so awesome because they also introduced a 239 cubic inch V6, a 273 cubic inch V8, and of course our beloved 318 V8, the 340 V8, and the 360 V8. Not only that, no, we are not going to stop here, because they also, this same family, this LA family, also gave us the legendary 8-liter Magnum V10, which you can find it in the Dodge Viper. Yes, my friends, the Dodge Viper engine traces its roots into the Chrysler LA engine family, which is, I mean, just brilliant. So yes, as I mentioned, I'm more than honored to make it an automation game, and this is the result of it. As you can see, we have a 230 horsepower 5.2 liter V8 at 4400 RPM and 330 pound-feet of torque at 2400 RPM. Now, I know what you are thinking. 330 pound-feet of torque, that's not the real number. Yes, because according to Chrysler, the engine actually made 340 pound-feet of torque. But according to some forums, I was reading a lot of forums, and according to them, because this engine, as I mentioned, was installed in a huge variety of vehicles. So on some vehicles, this engine had how can I explain, like a cold air intake system, like some sort of ducting to suck in air from outside to the engine compartment, to the intake or to the carburetor to make more power. And this particular one with the cold air intake, yes, it did make 340 pound-feet of torque, but on some other vehicles it didn't have that system, or it did have a different air filter or an air cleaner or an air box or whatever. So it did have like a not entirely cold air intake system. It was like hot air intake. On every vehicle it was different, and the torque and the power varies from 330 up to 340, depends on the intake and the vehicle that was installed on. So I tried my best. I mean, I really, as I mentioned, tried my best to reach 340 pound-feet of torque, but it was absolutely impossible. Because I want to keep the power and torque figures, and of course the RPM peak for the torque and power, I had to go this way: 230 horsepower, 330 pound-feet of torque. And it's not entirely wrong, because yes, there were actually some versions of it on some particular vehicles that made 330 pound-feet of torque. So you can say it's like 95% correct, from the real deal. But I'm really honored to make such a beast of an engine, and of course to work on it in automation game. All right, now we went through the pages of history. We explored some of its amazingness, and now of course let's start and go over its specs. Alright gentlemen, so starting from the top, we have of course a V90 degrees 8-cylinder engine. Obviously it's made entirely from cast iron when it comes to block and cylinder heads. It's pushrod 2 valves per cylinder, and we have a capacity of 5210 cc or a 5.2 liter engine, of course using a 99.3 millimeters on the bore and 84.1 millimeters on the stroke, which gives us this 5210 awesome cc engine. Now, to make it work, and because I've searched a lot of forums to get all the 100% specs, on a lot of forums they mentioned the engine came with forged internals, like forged steel crankshaft, forged pistons, and forged connecting rods, which was, I mean, pretty reliable. Can you imagine a lazy, underpowered V8 engine, making this much horsepower, and inside it there were actually some nice forged internals rolling around. That was amazing, because I think that's why people love the engine, especially tuners or hot rodders. They love this engine because it's a durable engine. It's really tough. The bottom end is really tough, and that's really awesome. So I went with the real specs: forged crankshaft, forged connecting rods, and well forged pistons. Moving on, the engine came from the factory with 9.2:1 compression ratio. I found this information on all of the forums. I went with 33 on the cam profile, +2 quality here, and obviously it's a naturally aspirated engine. This is 1967, and I went with the basic version of it with twin 2-barrel carbs on top. As you can see, standard intake. That means a proper airbox, a proper stock factory intake manifold. And this is the other issue that I faced in automation game, which is fuel. Because the real engine in real life, the engine did run in the olden days on the regular leaded, not super leaded, regular leaded. And I tried hard to use regular leaded, but it was impossible. The octane rating of this engine are through the roof. As you can see, I went with +7 quality. We barely made it run on 98. So yes, and look at that. I also used 13.1 air fuel ratio, and with all of these things +7 quality, and I barely made it to 98, which was pretty challenging actually. It wasn't easy at all, but I'm really more than honored to make this beast of an engine. Also, I went with 74 on the ignition timing and an RPM limit of 4900 RPM. Now, this is a bit that I'm really not sure about, because I've searched everywhere about the maximum engine speed or the RPM limit. No one mentioned anything about it. I mean, really, no one mentioned anything about it. So, because the power peaks at 4400 RPM, I thought myself, okay, I'm gonna make it 5000 RPM limit. But on 5000, on the particular 5000, or at that point, valve float will start to happen, and I hate valve float. So I thought to myself, okay, let's drop it 100 RPM. It won't really make that difference. And well, yes, 4900 RPM. Although we do have nice forged internals, which actually you can rev them much higher than this, but because of this small camshaft that we are running, the stock camshaft, yes, we are limited to 4900 RPM before valve float. Moving on to the exhaust, I've chosen the short cast headers, dual exhaust pipe, and 1.5-inch exhaust diameter with twin reverse flow mufflers, because we are using twin pipes, as you can see, or dual pipes. That means we have two mufflers. And of course, I went with plus 12 quality to make it work. Yes, I went that high to make it work actually. And this is the result. As I mentioned, 230 horsepower at 4400 RPM, 330 pound-feet of torque at 2400 RPM. And to be honest, the engine actually is not that bad. It was made in the 60s, and check out the reliability, 52 points. That's actually pretty decent. Fuel efficiency or fuel economy, 15.7% in 1967 for a 5.2 liter V8. That's brilliant actually. But yes, being a cast iron engine, it's a heavy beast. I mean, it's really heavy because obviously it's a cast iron beast of an engine. It's surprisingly not that quiet and not that loud. It's like in the middle, which is supreme. And the smoothness is surprisingly awesome as well. 54 points, not that bad actually. And I think I mean, look at that. The numbers speaks for themselves. It's a smooth, reliable, torquey beast of an engine, which worked perfectly in every single vehicle that actually received it. All right, let's fire it up on its stock, specs and numbers, and then let's start working on it. So here we go. Yeah. So the engine is making 245 pound-feet of torque on idle on 900 RPM, which is awesome. Wow, this thing idles pretty nice. I love the V8 noise. It's so deep. It's so beautiful. It feels like a beast. It sounds like a beast, and that's why I love V8 engines. All right. Anyway, so this is the stock engine. I'm more than happy that it worked this nicely after a very hard working on it. All right, so now let's start working on this engine and make it a true tuner dream engine. Now, people can do many crazy things. So basically, you have two separate ways here, like left and right. You need to choose a path to tune this engine. You can modernize it, put an EFI kit on it, and make it modern with sensors and make it more reliable, more powerful, and blah blah, all of that. Or you can continue the classic heritage. You can make it a true hot rod machine, a true hot rod engine with decent amount of power, decent amount of torque, and nice noise, nice exhaust, all of these things. So it's up to you. My choice, and I prefer that on every single classic beautiful V8 engine, is to keep it classic. I don't like to modernize V8, especially the carbureted ones, because they were born as carburetor engines. They should still be working as a reliable and of course beautiful carbureted engines. People love sometimes to put EFI on them, EFI kits to make them, start well in winter, to be more reliable, more fuel efficient. Yes, that's good, but the essence is gone. The classic soul of it is gone. So I want to keep it this way. So in this of course section, we are going to tune it as a classic engine. So I'm not going to change the production year. I'm going to keep it 1967, because if I do change it, it will interfere with the numbers and we will definitely have different numbers, as you can see, because right now it's perfect basically. And to keep it classic, that means we need to use classic parts, classic carburetors, classic exhaust, classic absolutely everything to make it work nicely. So the first step on every hot rodder, of course, you need to save money, or if you have so much money, you can just blow it all on the engine. I like to go step by step to make it run without blowing all the money on it. So let's start step by step. Starting, of course, if let's say you got a beautiful 1967, let's say Charger maybe, or a Magnum, or whatever vehicle these engines were actually installed on, a very, very decent one, low mileage. The engine is pretty sweet, pretty new basically. There is not much mileage, pretty preserved. So you got this amazing car and you want to squeeze a little power out of it. The first thing you need to do, of course, is, well, you have many things actually to use. The easiest one to use is, of course, to put on an aftermarket exhaust system. So let's start with that, because it's pretty much nice to use. You will get decent results, and basically it's affordable. It's not that expensive. So let's try that. Let's start with the exhaust. So right now we have 230 horsepower, 330 pound-feet of torque. So let's see what kind of results we will be getting with going with an aftermarket kit, or even a custom exhaust kit. So right now let's go with tubular headers. Basically these headers will be, you can find them as an aftermarket kit. Yeah, as you can see, we got two pound-feet of torque and 1 horsepower extra. I mean, it's tubular headers. They are not that different from short cast. I mean, if you look at them, they are not that different. I mean, we do have longer runners, customized and beautiful looking, but they are to be honest, they look very, very similar to the short cast headers, and that's why results are not that dramatic. I mean, you are not going to get 20 horsepower. No, only like 1 horsepower, 2 pound-feet of torque. And let's try and maybe increase the exhaust size. Look at that. So going with a 1-inch exhaust diameter, a bigger diameter, we will get less torque, and we will lose like 1 pound-feet of torque, but we will be adding, we'll be adding 13 extra horses, or actually 14 if we are counting the 230 horsepower stock mark. I'm not gonna change the muffler, because obviously I don't have the straight through muffler option here. So because we are tuning it the classic way. So reverse full muffler, or we can actually go baffled if we want to. Yeah, we can go baffled. Why not? Baffled is the straight through of the olden days. So baffled muffler instead of a reverse flow, that will give us nice exhaust note, because it's a little bit louder now. Nice amount of power. Look at that. We added 16 extra horsepower, but we lost a little bit of torque because the exhaust now is not restrictive. Some engines do love exhaust back pressure to make nice torque, but if you get rid of this pressure, if your exhaust is very, very nice flowing exhaust, this back pressure will be gone, of course. So yes, you will tend to lose a little bit of torque basically, but you will gain a lot of power. So let's see the results, and of course let's hear our new exhaust system. Yeah, it looks amazing. Love the muffler looking, love the headers. Now let's hear it. Yeah. That's more like it. Now this thing sounds like a fire-breathing machine. Yeah, That's a nice touch, and in a car you will actually enjoy it even more, because I mean, hearing this beautiful exhaust note when you are flooring it or when you are driving it slowly, oh my god, it will sound like a true beast. It will burps and shakes and it will be awesome. So this is a nice start, nice noise, nice power, nice, well, we lost a little bit of torque, but the torque peak number increased like 300 rpm extra, so you can actually feel this on the road, actually more torque up the rpm range. All right, so the next step, well, the next step, you have two ways as well. You can of course opt for a new camshaft, which will actually make a dramatic difference, or you can of course go even more classic and put the 6-pack intake manifold, and of course add the third twin barrel carb on top, which should actually make your engine breathe a lot more. So it's like a split way, and to be honest, I'm lost. I'm confused. Should I go camshaft or should I go carburetors? Now I know for a fact that carburetors are expensive. Like if you want to put the classic replica or maybe a brand new intake manifold for the 6-pack Chrysler V8, the 318 one, that is not cheap. I know that. I've seen how much it costs on Amazon and eBay. If you want to buy the real one, it's not that cheap. And purchasing the third carburetors, the third one actually, or this type of carburetor, is not cheap. So you'll be spending like maybe $1,500, which is, yeah, that's a lot of money to add a third carburetor with a new intake manifold. And of course you have to play with the linkages and the jettings, and basically have to take it to the dyno so they can tune it well, because basically adding a third carburetor, that means more fuel go in. They need to adjust everything. And of course the linkages, I've seen pictures of the throttle linkages. Oh my god, it's a nightmare. I mean, you definitely need someone that knows what he's doing to really make it work, because you are not just using a single carburetor, you are opening 3 carburetors at the same time. So the linkage is really complex. So I think let's go with a camshaft, because with a camshaft, the camshaft is still expensive, but it's less expensive than going with this shenanigans on top, because these things will cost a lot of dollars. So let's say you enjoy the exhaust, you are having fun, you are smoking the tires, enjoying the new power and everything. It's really awesome, but you want to change it for the best. So let's go to the cam, or the top end, or the cam profile area. Right now we are running the normal mainstream cam profile, as you can see, the normal one in the green, nothing special. So let's say you want to opt for like a hotter camshaft, not like a high performance or even a racing camshaft. No, something that will make your engine breathe a lot more, become a true beast, a street beast basically. So let's start increasing it up to 50 point, which is like the street point, or the street version. Let's say like on 50 you will get like 270 horsepower, which is a nice increase actually. We are still in the green, so let's go above the green. Let's go in between, like let's say 60 for example. On 60, oh look at that, we can actually get decent torque at 55. Okay, so let's go on 50. Okay, 56, 57. I think 57 is in between performance and street stock camshaft, as you can see, because we are pretty much in between the yellow and the green, which is like the medium area, basically the green area, or the orange area between. Not the orange area. What am I saying? I sound like a stupid guy. So yes, it's like in between the mainstream camshaft. So look at the results with a different camshaft, different push rods, different tappets, and all of these amazing things, and of course different valves and springs. Yeah, because obviously you need to replace all of these things to make it work and to make it reliable. And look at that, with these amazing things, we are looking at 277 horsepower and 338 pound-feet of torque. Yes, we added more torque. Yes, we added a lot more power. So far we added around 47 horsepower, which is a lot, and we added like 8 pound-feet of torque, and of course of torques. And yeah, we have a higher RPM, we have a higher power peak number, and we have a higher torque peak number as well. We have the RPM peak number, which is absolutely awesome. All right, we have a new camshaft, new exhaust, and now of course let's fire it up again. Yeah, sound of power. Now, obviously, going with a hotter camshaft, that means your torque and RPM and power will move up the RPM range. That means on idle we are making less torque than of course when we used to be. Before we were making around, I don't know, 240 or something like this, which was a lot, but now we are only making 200 because with a hotter camshaft, that means your power and torque peaks will jump up the RPM range. So the low end area will get obliterated, but of course the higher RPM point will get a dramatic effect, and of course will get much better. So far we have a better camshaft, better exhaust, and now of course it's time to go and spend all of the money that you were saving hard, because yes, with a new camshaft, of course you'll be enjoying the car even more power, more torque, more amazingness, basically smoking tires, drag racing on the stoplights or maybe on the drag strip, depends on how crazy you are. And now of course it's time to spend your hard-earned dollars to opt for the classic legendary 6-pack configuration. So let's go and try that out. All right, so what we need to make it work is, of course, we need the 6-pack intake manifold and the third carburetor. And yes, look how expensive it will get. Right now the engine costs the whole engine costs $1,500 or $1,580. Let's see with a triple carb, and of course with all the linkages and all of these things, how much of a difference we will get. Obviously you can read that here. The material cost, the twin carbs cost $922. The third one, or adding the third one, it will cost us in a total of $1,353. Yeah, and that is the difference. The engine used to cost $1,580. The new one is $2013, which is at a difference of nearly $500 that you are talking about for an intake manifold, for a new for a new carb, linkages, and maybe tuning it. So, and this is how it looks. Yeah, the amazing legendary 6-pack looks, triple twin barrel carbs, and this is basically the best option for this engine. Yes, I know there was a single 4-barrel carb option, but in automation game, and I've tried it before, you will actually lose power. A single 4-barrel carb in automation game, it's bad, it's not that brilliant. So you need to add a second one, which will cost you $1,900. That is extremely expensive. So, but of course you will open the engine even more. So let's try these amazing things first and see what's up. Now of course, if you want to keep it stock, you can keep the standard airbox, the standard 6-pack airbox, and all of these amazingness from the 60s. But of course you can opt for a high performance or even a performance intake manifold and an intake air filter, as you can see. So it's up to you at this point. When you want to go with the 6-pack, you can go with a high performance intake manifold, add third carburetor, and call it a day. Or of course, you can go back to the stock classical routes. It's up to you. My vision is to keep it standard, to make it more classic, because I love the airbox. It looks absolutely sweet, and of course, I love the standard intake manifold. It looks realistic, more realistic than this. I mean, automation developers, they should really fix this intake manifold. It looks hideous, it looks rubbish, I really hate it, but I like the standard one because this one looks more real to me. It's planted on the engine, it's touching the engine, it looks more real life to me than that thing, which is extremely hideous. But yeah, let's keep it on the standard one because the power difference is only like 1 horsepower, so it's not really gonna make any difference. And obviously with a third carburetor, as I mentioned, you need to take it to the dyno, and of course you'll be tuning it even more. So let's see the difference. we were at 277 horsepower and 338 pound-feet of torque. With the third carb, we added 1 torque, and we added 6 horsepower. Now, of course, the numbers are, the numbers are not that high, but of course you will get better fuel mileage because you will be tuning it even more. You can actually run it a lot more lean. As you can see, if you want to, you can actually make it run really lean, which will actually make a decent amount of power. So it's up to you on how would you like to tune it. You can actually add more ignition if you're interested in that. You can pull some ignition out. It's up to you, because on the dyno you will basically they will actually tune it even more. So as you can see, going with 100 on the ignition timing, we will actually lose a lot of torque. So let's keep it on 74, and because I think we get the nicest torque and nicest power. As I mentioned, you can actually pull some fuel out to make it efficient. It's up to you. We can pull a little bit of fuel. Let's go 280 horsepower. This way, look at that, we get more fuel efficiency, and yeah, we are still getting 280 horsepower, which means we added 50 horsepower and we added 6 pound-feet of torque. But of course, a lot more fuel efficiency, more and better fuel mileage, of course, on the road. So let's fire it up and let's hear our third carburetor chugging air and fuel into the engine. Yeah. Now, as you can see with the third carbs, the engine is not choking for air anymore. The exhaust is flowing very nicely, so air comes in, burnt with fuel, and then exhaust gases will come out freely. It's a nice, efficient engine now. And look at that. The fuel efficiency was better, of course, on the stock configuration with the stock camshaft and all of that, but still 13.6% is not bad for a tuned engine. This is not stock anymore. This is actually a tuned version of the engine, and still it's a decent engine. You can actually get decent amount of fuel mileage with this thing. So far we are happy, you are happy, and obviously, as you can see, we lost a little bit of reliability because adding a third carburetor means more things will go wrong, because you have linkages, you have the third carb might get choked down, maybe you'll have a fuel leak, you will have 3 fuel lines to each carburetor, so, or maybe 6 lines. One goes in and the other one is returned. So as you can see, it's more complicated now with the third carb. A lot of things can go wrong. That's why we lost a little bit of reliability. But as I mentioned, it's a nice result. The engine is running smoothly, running nicely. You are loving it, and we are getting close to our goal here, which is 300 horsepower. If you can reach 300 horsepower with this thing will be actually a decent street engine. And in a car, oh, that would be amazing. So let's try and reach that goal. Now, as you can see, as you have seen at the first of the video, we are using forged internals. The factory gave you forged internals. That means these things are really tough, so you don't have to change anything with them. They will keep on running and running and running until doomsday, but because these things are really tough. Unless, of course, one of the piston rings go wrong, and then you have to open the engine and, well, rebuilding it. But so far, these things are extremely reliable. Retaining boost. If the engine actually was boosted, these things will run and run and run. All right. So now the next step, obviously, is to go with a custom exhaust system. You are happy with the engine, but you want more power. So right now, you want to opt for a custom exhaust header. That means you want to go with long tubular headers. Yeah, these things are really awesome. They will make decent amount of power and decent amount of torque, and they will definitely free up some horses. And let's see the difference. Right now we are on 280. Yeah, with the long tubular you will add 3 horsepower and you will add 2 pound-feet of torque. And these things, as I mentioned, are custom made. You have to go to someone to weld them and make them look awesome. I think on some engines, not all of them, on some engines you can actually get them aftermarket, but on many engines you have to customize them yourself basically. So long tubular headers, let's try an increase. Maybe we'll gain power, maybe we will lose power, who knows. We actually gained power. So on 2-inch exhaust diameter we are on 291 horsepower and well 339 pound-feet of torque. Yeah, we are getting close to our goal here. And since you went with a custom exhaust system, that means it's a plus 15 quality, because well, it's especially if you went with a real gear head or a real petrol head that welded and designed your long tubular header exhaust. And yeah, look at that, 342 pound-feet of torque and well 239 horsepower. Now of course, let's hear our new exhaust. Yeah, that's what I call a nice hot rod engine indeed. All right, we are getting close to our goal here, which is 300 horses. And now, of course, after you've been enjoying the engine, after you've been really enjoying it and having so much fun, people checking out your engine and going, wow, what an engine, what a powerful, classy little beast here. Now, of course, it's time to open it even more, to make it even more powerful, using, of course, a hotter camshaft, not a racing camshaft. No, let's say a high performance camshaft. You want to go balls to the walls, you want to make it run and run with a decent amount of power. You want to make it a real hot street engine, and by doing that you will get amazing results. So let's opt for a higher performance camshaft. Yes, I know we are losing power because, well, first of all, the RPM limit is low. We need to increase that, and let's start with 80. And of course, since we have forged internals, that means we can actually increase the RPM. And obviously going with a high performance camshaft, that means it's a higher quality camshaft. It's not one of those cheap camshaft that you can buy on eBay. No, this is a really high performance one, like from Cams or whatever company that makes camshaft for this engine. So let's go up to 6300 RPM and check out the results. 351 horsepower, 314 pound-feet of torque, but at 5300 RPM. Yep, we lost a little bit of torque, but we gained a higher torque peak, higher torque RPM peak, and look at the power. 351 horsepower at 6000 RPM. Let's try and look at that. With more ignition, we can actually get better results. Okay, so let's see which better. Let's see, 300 and yeah, so let's go all the way up to 100, because we will get 363 horsepower and 324 pound-feet of torque. Now I know in real life you can't go this advanced basically unless you are using a really high octane fuel, but since we are using a super leaded fuel, yes, we can actually make it work. 363 horsepower and 324 pound-feet of torque. So we lost 6 pound-feet of torque from the stock number, but we added 133 horsepower. Yes, my friends, 133 horsepower from the stock number. Wow indeed. All right, let's fire it up. Let's hear our new camshaft with the exhaust, with the carburetors and all of that. Yeah, it shakes and burps now. It's making 186 pound-feet on idle, a little bit less, obviously. Alright, we have reached our goal and more, which is making 363 horsepower, 323 pound-feet of torque on this beautiful 5.2 liter V8 engine. Now, obviously, you can even go higher if you want to. Yeah, I mean, I'm not joking. You can actually go higher. If you want to go even higher with the power, you can actually opt for twin 4-barrel carbs, which will cost a lot more money. You can even go with a very custom race headers for your engine. But not many people will do it because these things are really rare. I mean, they require a very hardcore fabricator to make them. Everyone goes with long tubular headers because this is basically the realistic option, so I'm gonna stick with that. I mean, if you want to go with even a hotter camshaft, you will be talking about a race camshaft, which is not really brilliant, and you may not find these on the market. I don't think there are actually some race camshaft for these engines. These things are like mainstream engines. You can't find race camshaft for them, so let's stick with the high performance option. Now, obviously the best step or the best thing you can do is to keep it this way, and I think this is the best way. As you can see, 363 horsepower, you can say 360 horsepower engine. It's beautiful. In a car, this thing will be spinning, the tires will be smoking the quarter mile all the way to the end. It's gonna be awesome. And if this thing was like nitrous oxide, maybe like a 75 horsepower shot, yeah, you'll be talking about 420 horsepower from this beautiful 318 cubic inch engine. You can go crazier, I know that, and but I want to keep it as classic as beautiful. But for the sake of this video, let's try and go even. Let's go try and go with the twin 4-barrel carb, just to see what kind of numbers we'll be getting. Wow, absolutely the same thing. Yeah, amazingly, you will get absolutely the same thing. Let's see, 363, 324. Wow, the same numbers. So yeah, no difference whatsoever. I think this engine is ready. You can't do anything to this engine to make it run. Even if you switch to twin 4-barrel carbs, you'll get the same results. So keep it on the triple, keep it running like this, take care of it, change the oil frequently, keep it running, keep it clean, enjoy it, my friends, because that's gonna be awesome. Let's try one last shot, which is increase the exhaust size. Just one last shot before the finish. Yeah, you can actually increase it to 2.2 inches. Yeah, you can increase it to 2.2 inches. This is like the last shot, before we close up. As you can see, 372 horsepower, 331 pound-feet of torque. I mean, there is not much else that you can do. An exhaust, yes, you can do that. You can go with a 2.2 inch exhaust on the new camshaft, on the new carburetors, on this configuration. Yes, you will get a 370 horsepower engine. And I remember the 370 horsepower engine. It's beautiful on the street. Yeah, this thing will rip really hard in a muscle car, in a Charger, in a Magnum. This thing will be ripping really hard. 370 horsepower engine, 330 pound-feet of torque. And this is not a big block engine. This is actually a small block engine. Yeah, it looks like it's a small block. It's a 5.2 liter. It's a small block engine, and it's making decent power, decent efficiency, decent torque. It's beautiful, it sounds amazing, and I really love it. So let's fire it up for the last time, and let's call it a day or a night. The engine is making 187 pound-feet on idle. Wow, what an engine, what an experience indeed. I really love this engine, and I really adore it, and I will try my best to keep it running, to put it inside some awesome cars for the Friday live stream. I will definitely put the stock one and the tuned one in a special vehicle for the Friday live stream, so I can try it on the quarter mile. So don't miss that. Every Friday I go live on Twitch. Tune in this Friday so you can watch this beautiful engine ripping the quarter mile, the legendary Chrysler LA 318 V8. And that's pretty much it, my friends. Big thanks to the awesome guy that requested this awesome engine. I really thank you, my friend, for giving me the opportunity to make this episode works and to make this legendary engine and of course in automation game. Thank you so much from all of my heart. And of course, big thanks to you guys for watching my video. I really appreciate it. What do you think about this engine? Tell me in the comment section below. What do you think about this beast? Do you have an experience with it? Do you actually own a car with this engine? I would love if you can actually let me know on some of its secrets and some of its amazingness in the comment section below. Of course, my friends, you can follow me on Instagram, on Snapchat, the link in the description below for that as well. You can of course join my Discord, chat with me personally. You can participate in current running challenges on my channel. If you have what it takes to make a decent cars and automation game to participate in challenges, join in my Discord. We have some amazing challenges running currently, so join them for a chance to win some awesome priced car, built by me, and of course so you can have fun together, my friend. And if you love my work, my friend, and if you want to support the channel, the link also in the description below for my Patreon page. You can join in my Patreon page, download all of my awesome replica cars that I made in the past, Ferraris, Porsches, and more amazing things that I made. You can download them all to your BeamNG.drive and driving them, of course, by signing up to my Patreon page. And also, if you want to sponsor, if you have an awesome challenge for automation game, and if you want to sponsor your own challenge, also the link in the description below for my Patreon page. Everything basically is in the description below of this video basically. So yes, thank you so much, gentlemen, for watching. Thank you so much from all of my heart. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up, and of course to tell me what you think about it, and I will see you very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye for now, my friends.